The sky turned red, no one knew why. The moons above Teleronine, a jungle planet feared for its deadly wildlife, had suddenly gone dark. At the same moment, something crashed from the stars, a small pod, burning as it fell through the clouds. It hit the ground just outside the alien village of Virla. And from that pod, stepped a human. The alien girl, Alira, watched from the trees. Her long blue fingers gripped her spear tight. She had never seen a human in real life, only heard terrifying stories. They were supposed to be weak, soft, slow, but this one walked through the jungle like he owned it. His name was Dax, and he didn't seem afraid, not even when the sound of growls echoed nearby. Alira's heart pounded. That sound meant only one thing. The planet's apex predator, the Gorvax beast, was hunting. Even her people feared it. No weapon had ever killed it. No trap had ever caught it. The Gorvax was faster than a hovercraft and strong enough to crush stone. And yet, the human did not run. Alira couldn't look away. Suddenly the trees exploded. The Gorvax burst into the clearing, towering, armored, with burning red eyes and claws like blades. Its roar made the ground shake. Alira leaped back. In fear, no, he's going to die. But Dax didn't run. He dropped to one knee, pulled something from his belter, small silver rod, and tapped it twice. The rod hissed. In seconds, it grew into a strange weapon she had never seen. It was not a gun, not a blade. It looked like a staff with glowing rings spinning at both ends. The Gorvax charged. Alira wanted to scream, but then something unbelievable happened. The human moved. He rolled to the side, fast as light, and the staff spun in his hands. The glowing rings hit the beast's leg and the Gorvax screamed. It had been hurt by a human. Alira blinked in shock. No one had ever touched the Gorvax without dying. The beast turned again, angrier now, and charged again. Dax waited, then jumped high, grabbing a tree branch with one hand. The Gorvax slammed into the trunk below. As it staggered, Dax dropped down onto its back and drove the spinning staff into the back of its neck. The beast roared louder, but this time, it fell. Onmoving. Dead Ollie. Ra single quotes as jaw dropped open. The jungle went quiet. The Gorvax was dead. The human had done it alone. No armor, no backup, just a strange staff and pure courage. She stepped out from hiding, her eyes locked on him. How did you kill it? She asked in her own tongue, unsure if he'd understand. He turned and smiled. Wasn't easy, but I've met worse monsters. She shivered at the calm in his voice. Behind her, the trees shook again. Another sound echoed through the air, but this time it wasn't an animal, it was machines. Ships from the sky came, alien gunships, painted with the blood markings of the Zarkan Empire. Alira gasped. No, not them. Dax looked up to. Let me guess. Bad guys. She nodded slowly. Very bad. The Zarkans were slavers, invaders. They took planets, captured people, and burned forests to the ground. Her tribe had been hiding from them for years. They saw your crash, she said, panic rising. Now they're coming. Dax narrowed his eyes. Then we'd better make this place hell for them. Alira stared. You're not scared? He looked at the Gorvax's body and grinned. I just tamed the worst beast on this planet. Next. Before she could answer, the first Zarkon ship landed. Armed troops began pouring out. Their armor gleamed, their eyes cold. Alira stepped back, but Dax stepped forward. And just like that, a new war began. Dax stood in front of the fallen Gorvax beast, holding his glowing staff tight. Beside him, Alira stared at the Zarkan soldiers stepping out of their black ship. Their armor made them look like walking tanks, thick, heavy, and full of deadly weapons. There were at least 20 of them. All armed, all angry. The Zarkon leader, a tall brute with glowing yellow eyes and silver tattoos on his face, pointed toward Dax and shouted something in his native language. Alira translated fast. He said to kill you and take me. Dax raised an eyebrow. Rude. Without warning, the first blaster shot flew toward them. Dax dove to the side, pulling Alira with him. The shot exploded behind them, burning a hole in the jungle floor. Alira pulled her spear. "We can't win this." "We can't run either," Dax said, scanning quickly. "Cover me, I've got a plan." She didn't know why, but she obeyed. Maybe it was the way he had taken down the Gorvax. Maybe it was the strange calm in his voice. The Zarkans kept firing. Trees exploded. Smoke filled the air. Then, Dax moved. He ran directly into the gunfire, zigzagging fast, sliding under vines, and rolling through cover. The soldiers tried to track him, but he was too fast. From a low bush, Dax pulled something strange from his belt, small silver balls, glowing faintly. He threw them. Boom. The jungle lit up with smoke and sound. The balls weren't bombs but sonic flares. The sound was sharp, loud, and painful to the Zarkans' sensitive ears. They screamed, holding their helmets. Alira stared. "What kind of weapon is that?" Dax shouted back. "Something from Earth. Works well on bullies." While the Zarkans were disoriented, Dax charged one of them and slammed the spinning end of his staff into the soldier's helmet. Sparks flew. Another dropped his blaster. Dax grabbed it midair and tossed it to Alira. She caught it. "I don't know how to use this. Just aim and press." She did. The shot hit one of the Zarkans right in the chest. He flew back into a tree, groaning. "Nice shot," Dax called out, dodging another blast. But the fight wasn't over. The Zarkan leader roared and activated a drone from his shoulder. The machine lifted into the air, scanned Dax, and locked onto him with a red light. Alira shouted, "It's a hunter drone. It won't miss." Dax ducked behind the Gorvax's dead body as the drone fired a deadly energy beam. The ground sizzled, melting where it struck. "We need to get out of here," Alira cried. Dax looked around quickly. "See that cliff?" She followed his gaze. A rocky cliff stood nearby, with a narrow ledge halfway up. "If we reach that ledge, we can push rocks down on them." Alira hesitated. "That's suicide. Only if we're slow." They ran. Blaster fire followed. The drone buzzed behind them like a vulture. One shot nearly hit Alira's leg, burning the edge of her dress. She screamed but kept running. Dax reached the cliff first and jumped. He climbed fast, pulling himself up with one hand and reaching for her with the other. "Come on." Alira grabbed his hand. He pulled her up just as more blasts slammed into the rocks below. Now, above the fight, they saw the jungle burning. The Gorvax's body lay between the Zarkans and the cliff. Smoke rose, and the air smelled like fire and death. Alira panted. "This is madness." Dax smiled, breathing hard. "Welcome to my world." Together, they pushed at a large flat rock. It wobbled. "On three," Dax said. 1, 2, 3. The rock fell. It slammed down on the drone first, crushing it mid-air. Then it crashed into 2 Zarkan soldiers below, knocking them unconscious. The rest scattered, but they were disorganized now. Dax jumped down, landing hard. Alira followed, rolling on her feet like a jungle cat, with their numbers down and their drone gone. The Zarkans retreated to their ship. Their leader shouted something again. "He says he'll return," Alira translated. "With more. With machines." Dax nodded. "Let him. We'll be ready." The ship lifted and flew away into the sky, leaving behind broken trees, smoke, and silence. For a moment, the jungle was still again. Alira looked at Dax. "You're not like any human I've heard of," she said. "You fight like a wild thing. You think like a hunter." Dax laughed. "That's just Earth training. And a little luck." She touched the broken Gorvax's body. "You killed this, and made the Zarkans run. Why?" He looked serious now. "I'm not just here by accident," he said. "My ship was shot down. Someone wanted me dead, but I survived." Alira frowned. "You were hunted, yes," he said. "And now I'm hunting back." Alira felt a chill in her chest. This wasn't just a human. This was something else, something dangerous. And maybe their only hope. The jungle was quiet again. The fires were dying. Smoke drifted high above the trees. Ash fell like light snow. Sat beside Dax, near the broken body of the Gorvax. Her hands were still shaking. She had fought battles before, but never like this. Never against something so big. So fast, or beside someone so strange. Dax didn't speak. He was fixing his weapon. Checking its parts like it was a living thing. His hands moved quickly but carefully. Like he had done this 100 times before, Alira broke the silence. You said someone shot you down who Dax didn't look up? The same people who attacked us just now, Alira frowned. The Zarkon Empire. No, Dax said. Someone higher, someone they fear, that made her pause. The Zarkons were feared across 6 systems. Who could they possibly be afraid of? Dax finally looked at her. I was part of a mission. We were sent to find something on this planet. Something ancient. Something powerful. Her breath caught. What kind of power? Dax lowered his voice. A living weapon, buried deep underground. Not a machine, not a bomb. Something alive. Alira shook her head. This planet is wild. But there's no weapon here. Just monsters. That's what they want you to believe, Dax replied. But the truth is under your feet. This jungle, this whole planet wasn't always like this. It was changed, mutated. Alira blinked. By what? By the thing we're looking for. He stood up and pointed toward the east. A tall mountain stood there, covered in clouds and thick with vines. That's where it is. Alira stared at it. You mean the Dead Mountain? No one goes there. It's cursed. That's what they want you to think, Dax said again. But I have to go there, and I need your help. Alira stepped back. Me? Why? Because I don't know this land. You do. I don't know the paths, the beasts, the plants. You've survived here all your life. I need that. Alira hesitated. She had heard stories of the Dead Mountain since childhood. Creatures that turned to stone, trees that screamed, paths that looped back forever. But then, she had also believed the Gorvax couldn't be killed, and Dax had proved that wrong. She looked him in the eye. If we go there, we may not come back, he nodded. I know, but if we don't go, more Zarkons will come, and next time, they'll bring more than soldiers. A long silence passed. Then she said, Fine, but first we need food, and shelter. Dax smiled. That, I can help with. They moved deeper into the jungle, away from the burned clearing. Alira led the way, using her spear to clear thick plants. Dax walked behind her, alert, watching the trees like a trained hunter. Soon, they reached a hidden cave behind a waterfall. Alira had used it before. It was cool, dry, and hard to find. Inside, they started a small fire, using a sparkstone and dry leaves. As the fire grew, Dax opened a pouch and took out something wrapped in silver. He peeled it, opened it, was dried. Earth rations. Alira sniffed it suspiciously. What is that? Beef jerky. Beef what? Meat. From a cow. She stared. What is a cow? He chuckled. You'd love them. Big, slow, soft, nothing like this planet. They shared the food in silence. After a while, Alira asked, Why do you care? Why are you fighting so hard? Dax looked into the fire, because I've seen what the Zarkons do to planets. First they take the land, then they take the people, then they take the future. He paused. I couldn't stop them before, but maybe I can stop them here. Alira's eyes softened. You lost people, didn't you? He nodded once. Everyone. That word hung heavy in the cave. The fire crackled quietly. Suddenly, Alira's ears twitched. She stood quickly. Do you hear that? Dax rose too, grabbing his staff. Outside the cave, leaves are USTL ed. Then something large moved in the dark. Dax whispered, Is it another predator? Alira shook her head. No, I hear breathing. Heavy. It's not stalking, it's waiting. She stepped slowly toward the entrance, spear ready. Dax stayed beside her. Then a shape appeared in the waterfall, a figure, tall, lean, wearing long dark robes. Its face was hidden by a bone mask. Alira gasped. That's a seer. Dax narrowed his eyes. What's a seer? They don't speak, They only come when fate is about to change. The seer raised its hand and pointed at Dax. A glowing mark appeared on his chest, pulsing red. Alira backed up. What did it do? But Dax didn't feel pain. He just stared at the light on his chest. It felt warm. Alive. Then, just as suddenly, the seer vanished into the jungle mist. Dax looked at Alira. What does this mean? She swallowed hard. It means, you've been chosen. Asterisk. The next morning, the jungle air felt colder. Birds didn't sing. Even the bugs were quiet. Alira stepped out of the cave first. Her sharp eyes scanned the trees. Nothing moved. Behind her, Dax stood, checking the glowing red mark on his chest. It hadn't faded overnight. It pulsed slowly, like a heartbeat, soft but steady. You okay? Alira asked. Dax nodded, but he looked distant. It doesn't hurt, just feels strange. Like something inside me woke up. Alira frowned. See, only mark those tied to ancient power. I've never seen one choose a human before. Dax gave a dry laugh. First time for everything. They packed quickly. There was no time to waste. The Zarkans could return at any moment. The mountain wasn't going to climb itself by midday. They reached the edge of the jungle. Before them stood the dead mountain, tall, grey, covered in thick vines and shadows. Clouds wrapped around its peak, and lightning flashed within them, even though the sky was clear. It didn't look like part of the same planet. Alira stood frozen. The jungle ends here. No animal crosses this line because of the weapon, Dax asked. Maybe, she said quietly. Maybe because something even worse guards it. Dax stepped forward. We won't find out by waiting. They began the climb. The first part was steep but manageable. Rocky paths curved between black trees. The air got heavier with each step, like something was pressing on their lungs. It wasn't altitude. It was something else, something unseen. Halfway up, they found the first sign of the past. Ruins. Alira gasped. These stones, they're ancient. Massive stone blocks sat cracked and broken, covered in vines. Symbols were carved into them, circular marks, strange language, and drawings of tall beings with glowing eyes. Dax ran his fingers over one of the carvings. I've seen these before. In Earth's archives, these beings, they're not from this planet. You think they built this? Alira asked. Dax nodded. Or buried something here they wanted to hide forever. Suddenly, a loud crack echoed through the ruins. They spun around. Something big was moving through the trees. Alira raised her spear. That's not an animal. A shape emerged from the shadows. It looked like a machine, but it moved like a predator. 4 legs, long neck, metal skin covered in moss. Its eyes were bright blue and unblinking. A sentry, Dax whispered. The creature scanned the ruins. Its head tilted, then locked onto them. Lights flashed red. Run. They sprinted through the ruins as the sentry gave chase. It was fast, its metal legs smashing through rock and vines. It fired a pulse blast that missed by inches, exploding a tree beside them. Dax turned and threw another one of his sonic flares. The loud sound disoriented the sentry for a moment, but it didn't stop. It's not enough. Alira yelled. No, Dax said. But we're not trying to fight it. We're trying to lose it. He spotted a crack in the stone wall ahead. There. They dove through just before another blast hit. Inside, they found a narrow tunnel lit by blue crystal. Veins in the walls. The sentry couldn't follow it. Was too big. They caught their breath. That thing was guarding this entrance, Dax said, which means we're close. The tunnel curved downward, deeper into the mountain. The glow of the crystals grew brighter as they went, humming with a low sound, like distant thunder. After a long walk, they stepped into a massive underground chamber. What they saw made them stop in their tracks. Floating in the middle of the room was a suspended creature, wrapped in energy, humanoid, tall, with silver skin and eyes closed in sleep. Ancient armor covered its chest, and from its back stretched what looked like folded wings made of light. Alira whispered, "Is that the weapon?" Dax stepped closer. No. That's the Guardian. As he approached, the glowing mark on his chest pulsed faster. Suddenly, the Guardian's eyes opened pure white light. The chamber shook. Alira stepped back in fear. You woke it. But the Guardian didn't attack. It spoke. A deep voice echoed through the cave. You carry the blood of the broken line. You are not from this world, but fate has brought you here. Dax frowned. What line? What do you mean? The Guardian replied, You are a spark from the old flame. The ones who made me left their mark in you. Alira stared at Dax. You're connected to this? To them. The Guardian looked at her. And you, child of the forest, carry the memory of the old protectors. Together, you may succeed where others failed. Dax stepped forward. What do we need to do? The Guardian slowly raised a hand. A vision flashed. They saw the planet covered in machines, skies black with ships, cities burning, alien children crying, beasts in chains. Then they saw a light, a human hand, a spear of energy, and the mountain exploding in power. The vision ended. Dax staggered. That's the future. The Guardian's voice faded. Unless you stop it. The weapon is deeper still. But once touched, it cannot be undone. The energy holding the Guardian flickered on, then it vanished. The being collapsed like a statue, lifeless. Alira whispered, We're not just in a fight anymore. We're in a prophecy. Dax looked at his hand. It was glowing, and the mountain was only beginning to awaken. Asterisk. The silence after the Guardian's death felt loud. Dax stood still, staring at the fallen figure. Its glowing wings had faded. The light in its eyes was gone. Whatever power had kept it alive for thousands of years had vanished. Alira whispered, It gave everything to warn us. Dax didn't answer. His heart beat faster. The glowing mark on his chest now spread faint lines across his arm like a web of light. He didn't know what it meant, but it was clear now. He wasn't just some soldier. He was part of something much older, something hidden. Alira touched his arm gently. We don't have much time. The Zarkans will return. If they find the weapon first, they'll destroy everything, Dax finished. He nodded and turned toward a stone door on the other side of the chamber. It was tall, carved with old, alien markings. In the center was a handprint humanoid shaped. Dax hesitated, then placed his hand on it. The mark on his arm flared bright. Click. The door trembled. Then slowly slid open with a deep rumble. A staircase spiraled downward, carved out of black crystal. Cold air rose from below, making Alira shiver. They descended. Each step felt heavier. The crystals along the wall glowed faint blue, pulsing like breathing. The deeper they went, the more the air seemed to press on them. Dax stopped suddenly. He could hear something, not a sound, a feeling, whispers. In his mind, Alira noticed his face change. What is it? He shook his head. I don't know. It's like something speaking without words. They reached the bottom. Before them was another vast chamber, this one even larger. In the center stood a platform, and on it lay the weapon. But it wasn't a gun, or a bomb, or a machine. It was a living pod, shaped like a cocoon, floating. Above the platform, it pulsed slowly. Inside, they could barely make out a humanoid figure. Smaller than the Guardian, but with the same silver skin. Alira stepped forward. Is it sleeping? Dax nodded slowly. Yes, and dreaming. How do you know? Because I can feel it. He closed his eyes. Suddenly images rushed into his mind. A war between stars, beings of light, battling shadows that fed on fear. The creators of the Guardian, fleeing across galaxies, a last hope. Hidden here. Protected by time. Left to awaken only when needed. Dax opened his eyes. This is not a weapon like we think. It's a being. The last of its kind. The final protector. Alira looked shocked. Then why did the Zarkans call it a weapon? Because to them, anything they can't control is a threat. He reached out to the pod. Alira stopped him. Wait, what if waking it is dangerous? Dax paused. What if not waking it is worse? But before he could touch it, the ground shook. Boom. A loud crash echoed from above. Alira spun around. They're here. Dax clenched his fists. Too fast. They must have tracked us. From the staircase behind them, Zarkon soldiers appeared, dozens of them. Armed and armored. Leading them was the same silver-marked Zarkon commander. But this time, he had something newer, floating black device glowing with green runes. Dax's eyes narrowed. Signal disruptor. That's how they found us. The commander pointed at Dax and shouted in Zarkon tongue. Alira translated. He says step away from the pod or die. Dax raised his staff, but his fingers shook. We can't let them take this. The Zarkons aimed their weapons. Dax looked at Alira. Can you buy me a few seconds? She gave a fierce smile. I'll buy you 10. She charged with a war cry, leaping into the air and throwing her spear at the nearest soldier. It struck Trustrit into the armor joint. The room exploded into chaos. Blaster fire lit the chamber. Alira dodged between pillars, taking cover. Behind ancient stones, Dax sprinted to the pod. The whispers in his head grew louder. You are the key. Awaken me. Before it's too late, Dax placed both hands on the pod. The mark on his chest turned bright gold. A shockwave pulsed out. Every Zarkon froze stunned for a second. Alira ducked as a blast passed inches from her head. What was that? The pod cracked. Lines of light split across its surface. Then his SSSSE opened. The glowing mist poured out, and from it stepped the being inside. It looked like a child made of starlight, young, thin eyes glowing like suns. Its voice echoed, not from its mouth, but inside their minds. You have awakened me. Too early, but it is not your fault. Dax stumbled back. Who? What are you? The being turned to him. I am the seed of origin. The last spark of the first creation. I was meant to sleep longer. But your world is dying. The Zarkon commander recovered first. He aimed his gun at the seed. But the seed raised a single hand, and all weapons froze in midair. Violence will not decide this, the seed said. The guns melted into light and disappeared. The Zarkons panicked. Some ran. Others dropped to their knees. Dax stepped closer. Will you help us stop them? The seed looked deep into his eyes. You carry the burden of Earth, and the courage of a forgotten line. I will help, but no, this help comes with cost. Dax nodded. I accept. It. The seed reached out, touched his chest. A beam of golden light shot out of Dax's back. His body glowed, his eyes lit up. Alira gasped. What are you doing to him? The seed answered calmly. I am unlocking what was already inside. Golden. Light swirled around Dax's body like a living storm. Alira shielded her eyes. The cave shook. The ancient crystals in the walls hummed in response to the energy flowing from Dax's chest. The seed of origin hovered a few feet above the ground, hands still outstretched toward Dax. Its glowing voice echoed through their minds. He is not ordinary. He was never just a soldier. He is the carrier of the forgotten flame. The echo of the first bloodline. Alira blinked. First bloodline. What does that mean? The seed turned to her. Long ago, humans were not weak. They were creators, warriors, builders of stars. Their light faded, but a few still carry the spark. This one Dax was born with it. Hidden inside. Dax fell to his knees, panting. The golden glow faded slowly, leaving behind faint lines on his skin like starlight woven into his veins. He looked up at the seed, breathless. What did you do to me? I showed you who you are. Suddenly, he heard everything more clearly, the breathing of the soldiers, the soft hum of the crystals, even the footsteps of those running above them. His strength had doubled. His senses were sharp, and deep inside, he felt something. Ancient, rushed to his side. Are you all right? Dax stood slowly. I feel alive. Before she could answer, the ground shook again. The Zarkon commander was back, this time wearing a dark exosuit, massive and glowing with red energy. It had multiple arms, 2 blasters, and a glowing core in the center of its chest. He growled, "I will finish this myself." Dax stepped forward. Calmly, the commander raised both blasters and fired, but Dax didn't dodge. He raised one hand, and the blasts hit an invisible field of golden light that shimmered in front of him. Alira gasped, "He's shielding it." The commander roared and charged, swinging a massive energy blade. Dax met him mid-air. The impact shook the entire chamber. The fight was like nothing Alira had ever seen. Speed, power, precision. The commander's suit struck hard, but Dax's glowing hands blocked every blow. The energy in his body moved like fire and lightning. He grabbed the commander's arm and twisted metal cracked. Then Dax jumped, flipped behind him, and slammed a glowing fist into the power core. Boom. The suit exploded in a burst of sparks. The commander flew back and hit the wall, groaning before collapsing. Dax stood breathing hard but unharmed. Alira stared at him. "You're not the same anymore." He turned to her. "Neither is this war." The seed floated beside them. "The enemy will return. In greater numbers, you must leave this place and lead." "Lead?" Dax asked. "Yes, not just fight. Unite the tribes. Awaken the scattered strength. Or you will lose this world." Alira frowned. "The forest. Tribes don't trust outsiders. Especially not humans." The seed glowed brighter. "Then show them this." From the seed's body, a crystal orb formed. Inside, it floated a vision axe taming the Gorvax, protecting the planet, defeating the Zarkon leader. "This memory will speak louder than words," the seed said. "Carry it." Dax reached out and took the orb. Suddenly, alarms sounded. From the tunnel above, more Zarkon voices echoed. The rest of the army was closing in. The seed turned to them. "Go. I will seal the chamber. They must not touch what remains." Dax hesitated. "Will we see you again?" "When the final fire rises, I will return." With a loud hum, a wall of blue energy burst up between them and the seed. The chamber dimmed behind it. Alira pulled Dax toward the tunnel. "Come on." They ran through the ruins. Up the spiral stairs, past the dead sentry. The whole mountain shook behind them like it was waking from a long sleep. When they reached the top, the sun was setting. The sky burned orange. In the distance, jungle fires lit up where the Zarkons had landed more ships. Alira looked to the west. "If we run now, we can reach the hill tribes before dawn." Dax nodded. "Then let's move." But before they could leave, they heard footsteps behind them. A lone figure stepped out of the shadows. It was another human, a man, older, beard, wounded, but still standing tall. Dax stared in shock. "Captain Reese." The man smiled weakly. "Took you long enough, soldier." Alira looked between them. "You know him?" "He was my commanding officer," Dax said. "He was on the mission. I thought he died in the crash." Reese nodded. "Almost did, but something kept me alive." He reached into his coat and pulled out a strange black cube. "This," he said. "This is what the Zarkons are really after. The memory key. It unlocks everything about the weapon, about the seed, and about you." Dax took a step forward. "Why didn't you destroy it?" "Because we may need it," Reese said. "But you're the only one who can use it now. They'll come for you, Dax. With armies, with machines, with worlds behind them." Dax looked at the key, then at Alira. "I say we give them a fight they'll never forget." Asterisk, the stars were just beginning to appear above Teleronine as Dax, Alira, and the wounded Captain Reese moved fast through the jungle. Behind them, the mountains still glowed faintly from the seed's power. Zarkon ships hovered nearby, searching, but the trio stayed hidden. Using narrow forest trails only, Alira knew by morning, they reached the high cliffs of the west down below. Scattered through trees and stone huts were the hill tribes, wild alien clans with painted faces, thick armor made of bark and bones, and one rule: outsiders were not welcome. Alira turned to Dax. "This will not be easy." "I don't expect it to be," he said. She narrowed her eyes. "They don't bow to anyone. Even the Zarkons fear coming here. Reese coughed, still weak. Then it's exactly where we need to be. If we don't unite them, we lose the war. Before it starts, Dax nodded. Let's go meet them. They stepped onto the main path that led into the tribal circle. Eyes from the cliffs above followed them. Shadowed figures moved between trees. Alira walked ahead and raised her spear. We come in peace. I am Alira of the Varela tribe. From above, a deep voice boomed. And you bring a human? Into our sacred ground. Several hill tribe warriors dropped from the cliff stall, strong, with bright red eyes and bone blades. One pointed a curved axe at Dax's chest. Alira stood between them. He tamed the Gorvax. He fought the Zarkons. He carries the flame. The warriors didn't lower their weapons. Then Dax reached into his pouch and pulled out the seed's memory. Orb. He raised it high. The orb glowed and projected light into the sky above the camp. Asterisk. All watched as glowing images appeared. Dax, standing alone against the Gorvax. Dax shielding Alira from Zarkan fire. Dax, awakening the seed of origin. Gasps filled the air. Even the hardest warriors stepped back in surprise. A tall figure in black and gold armor walked out of the crowd. She had glowing green eyes and sharp features. Her presence silenced everyone. The memory is true, she said. But truth is not trust. Alira whispered. That's Chief Varric, the strongest war leader of the hill tribes. Varric pointed at Dax. If you wish our help, you must prove your worth. Dax frowned. What do you want me to do? She looked toward a massive gate. At the back of the village, face the trial of claws. Win, and we follow you. Fail, and we feed you to the worms. Captain Reese chuckled weakly. Fair deal. Dax took a deep breath and nodded. I accept. The gate creaked open. Behind. It was a massive pitstone walls covered in vines, with strange claw marks on every surface. The crowd gathered around the edge to watch. Alira gripped Dax's hand. You don't have to do this. Yes, I do, he said. If I can't earn their trust, I don't deserve their help. He stepped into the pit. The gates slammed shut. Behind him, a loud horn blew and a hidden door opened on the far side. From the darkness crawled a beast. It wasn't as big as the Gorvax, but it was faster. With 6 legs, spiked armor, and a long tail tipped with a stinger, Alira gasped. It's a thornback. Even we can't kill those. Dax didn't have time to be scared. The thornback leaped toward him. He rolled to the side, dodging just in time. Its tail stabbed into the ground, leaving a burning hole where he had stood. Dax pulled his staff, but it didn't power up. The seed's energy, he realized, it's gone. The crowd laughed. Dax was now truly alone. He grabbed a broken piece of wood from the ground and used it to block the next attack. The thornback snapped it in 2. Thinking fast. Dax ran to the wall, climbed a few steps on the stone, and launched himself off, landing on the beast's back. It roared and bucked. Trying to shake him off, Dax grabbed its armor plates and drove his fists into the gaps between them. The thornback screamed and rammed into the wall, crushing Dax's leg. Pain shot through his body, but he didn't stop. He pulled out a shard of stone from the ground and jammed it into the base of the creature's skull. With one last scream, the thornback collapsed. The crowd fell silent. Dax rolled off, breathing hard, leg bleeding, hands shaking. The gate opened. Chief Varric walked down and stood over him. You have pain, she said. He nodded. You were wounded. He nodded again, but you won, she said. She held out her hand. Rise, Flamebearer. He took it. The hill tribes roared. Later, around the fire, Varric stood and spoke to all. From this day, we fight under one banner. The Zarkans want our land, our people, our sky. We give them nothing but fire. Dax limped forward. This is only the beginning. We're not just fighting for Teleronine. We're fighting to wake up the galaxy. He turned to Alira. How many more tribes are out there? She smiled. More than you think. Captain Reese nodded. Then let's start walking. 3 days had passed since Dax won the trial of claws. The hill tribes had begun building war camps in the jungle, forming alliances they once thought impossible. Other forest clans, once divided by fear, now followed Alira's call because they had seen the memory orb. They had seen the human tame the untamable, fight the unbeatable, and awaken the ancient seed. But not all were ready. Some doubted, and some betrayed. Far above the planet, a Zarkan mothership drifted in orbit, cold, silent, watching. Inside its command room stood General Vorthok, a massive figure with iron skin and snake-like eyes. Unlike the others, Vorthok did not shout or roar. He smiled, a soft, dangerous smile. Behind him, a Zarkon scout kneeled. "The tribes are gathering, sir. The human here has united them." Vorthok turned slowly. "Good, then we don't have to hunt them one by one." He walked to a dark panel and pressed a button. A hologram lit up a red sphere, flashing with targets. "This is not a war," he whispered. "This is an extermination." Back on the surface, Dax stood over a large map, drawn in dirt. Beside him were Alira, Captain Reese, and Chief Varrock. More tribal leaders had arrived, some wearing robes, some armor, some with war paint and ancient weapons. All looked to Dax for direction. "We have 3 days," Dax said, pointing to the sky. "Then the Zarkans drop everything they've got." Varrock nodded. "They'll burn the forests, poison the rivers. Kill the young first." Alira looked worried. "We don't have enough fighters. Even if every tribe joins us," Reese added, "their weapons are too advanced. We need a way to even the field." Dax stayed silent. Then he spoke slowly. "We use the mountain." The leaders looked confused. "The seed left more than memories," Dax explained. "Beneath the dead mountain, there are tunnels, energy lines, ancient traps. If we can lead the Zarkons there, we turn their strength into a weakness." Varrock crossed her arms. "Lure them into a death maze." "Yes," Dax said. "But we'll need a signal strong enough to draw them in. Something they can't ignore." Reese looked up. "We still have the memory key." Everyone turned to him. Dax frowned. "You said that thing is dangerous." "It is," Reese replied. "But if we activate it, the Zarkans won't just come for us. They'll come thinking the seed is still alive. They'll throw everything at us." Alira whispered, "And that's when we strike." Dax nodded. "Exactly." Chief Varrock smiled darkly. "Then let them come. We'll bury their bones under our roots." That night, the camp was alive with noise-war drums, chants, and warriors sharpening blades. Others painted armor, braided hair, and carved symbols of their ancestors into stone. But Dax sat alone by the fire, staring at the memory key in his hand. The orb pulsed red. Waiting, Alira sat beside him. "You're thinking too much," she said softly. "I'm thinking about the cost," he replied. "These people are following me, believing in me. If I make one mistake, they die," she finished. He looked at her. "I'm not a hero." "You don't need to be," she said. "You just need to be the one who doesn't give up." Silence passed. Then she touched his arm. "Tomorrow," she said, "we fight for a new story." He nodded, then turned to Reese. "Activate the key." High above the jungle, the memory key flashed. A pulse shot into the clouds. Red lights blinked. Across the sky, visible even from space. On the Zarkon mothership, alarms blared. General Vorthok stood before the signal screen. His smile grew wider. "Ready all ships," he said. "The seed is calling. Let us answer." Morning came. Clouds gathered fast, but not rain clouds. Dropships, massive Zircon carriers, blocked out the sun, descending with screaming engines. The jungle shook. Trees snapped. The ground cracked. Dax stood at the edge of the battlefield, surrounded by his new army, tribes of all shapes and sizes, humans and aliens, warriors with spears, bows, stone hammers, and plasma rifles. Captain Reese stood beside him, his arm bandaged, holding a strange earth-made detonator. Alira pointed to the cliffs. "The mountain tunnels are ready. The lures are placed." Chief Varrock raised her axe. "Let them come." The sky turned red. Zarkan war machines dropped in lines, tanks with legs. Fire drones. Hunters in power armor. The enemy had come. Thousands, maybe more. Dax looked across the attacked field. This was it, the moment that would be remembered forever. He raised his voice. Today, they bring war to our home. But today, we show them what it means to fight together. The crowd roared, then the sky exploded, and the war for Teleron began. Asterisk, the jungle burned. Zarkan dropships landed like thunderbolts, shaking the ground as fire drones poured out. Mechanical beasts, spider-like tanks, hover strikers, and armor. Giants moved through the trees, destroying everything in their path. But Teleron did not fall silent. It roared back. From the thick forest, tribal warriors leapt with spears, tipped in crystal, and blades laced with venom. Arrows rained down from the trees, striking metal joints and weak spots. Explosives made from jungle minerals lit up Zarkon squads. The tribes had no satellites, no nukes, but they had the land, and now they had Dax. Dax stood at the head of the battlefield, his body still glowing with the golden marks of the seed's power. His hands gripped a reinforced staff, and behind him flew a new banner, half earth, half tribal symbols, joined in one flame. Beside him was Alira, her face painted in white streaks, her eyes fierce. Captain Reese stood on a high ridge with a remote detonator, watching every move, and Chief Varrock rode a beast the size of a boulder, swinging her bone axe like a god of war. All forces ready? Dax asked. Alira nodded. All tribes are in position. The tunnels are armed. The bait is set. Dax looked at the sky black with enemy ships. Then it's time. He raised his staff. Fall back to the dead mountain. Lead them in. The signal was given. The tribes began to retreat, but not in fear. They moved like hunters, drawing the Zarkans exactly where they wanted, toward the ancient tunnels. Beneath the mountain that the Zarkans followed. Their generals laughed. They're running, one said. As expected, they didn't know they were walking into a trap. Inside the mountain, ancient passageways lit up as Dax passed through. The lines carved by the first creators responded to his energy. Glowing brighter with each step, Alira stayed at his side, guiding warriors through the narrow corridors from the rear. Varrock's warriors slammed massive stone doors shut, trapping Zarkan units inside chamber after chamber, and then came the moment. Ready? Dax called over the com. Captain Reese's voice crackled back. Tunnels fully sealed. Zarkans are in deep. Dax pressed his hand to a wall, activating the core. Crystals pulsed red. Traps awakened. Boom. Tunnels collapsed. Energy spears fired from the walls, impaling armored troops. Stone hammers swung from ancient chains, crushing machines. Pits opened below Zarkan walkers, dropping them into magma. Chambers sealed for centuries. The jungle had become a maze of death, and still, Dax pushed forward. He reached the central vault, where the remaining seed energy was buried deep within the earth. It glowed softly in a massive root-covered orb. We hold here, he told Alira. This is their true target. But just as she nodded, the wall exploded behind them. Out stepped General Vorthok, twice the size of any Zarkon, now wearing a living armor that pulsed with black energy. His eyes locked on Dax. You've caused enough trouble, human, he said coldly. Dax stepped forward. You came all this way. Let's finish it. Alira shouted. Be careful, he's not like the others. Dax twirled his staff and charged. The two forces collided. Vorthok struck like thunder. Every punch broke stone. Every movement sent shockwaves. But Dax moved like light, dodging, striking back. Using speed over power, Alira fought off incoming Zarkon elites. Covering Dax's back, the vault room shook. Vorthok grabbed Dax by the neck and slammed him into the ground. You are nothing. Just a relic of a forgotten race. Dax, bleeding but smiling, replied, maybe. But you should fear the past. He grabbed Vorthok's arm and released a pulse of golden energy. The seed's mark flared. Vorthok screamed as cracks ran through his armor. Alira jumped from behind and drove her spear into the open wound. Together, they brought the giant to his knees. Vorthok growled, "You think this wins you the war? This planet will still burn." Dax looked at the vault dot at the last piece of seed energy, then at Alira. "I know what to do," he said softly, before she could ask. He sprinted forward and touched the orb. A bright shockwave exploded outward. The energy flowed into him. His eyes turned white, his body glowing with fire. He became the flame. The orb cracked and disappeared. Vorthok lunged in rage, one final strike, but Dax caught his hand mid-air and unleashed the full power of the seed through it. Boom! The blast shook the entire mountain. Alira was thrown back by the force. When the dust cleared, Vorthok was gone, and Daxi lay in the center. Still, Alira crawled to him, heart racing. "Dax, Dax." He opened his eyes, slowly, alive, but weak. "You did it," she whispered. "No," he replied, "we did." Outside, the last wave of Zarkon ships rose into the sky, retreating defeated. The tribes cheered. Chief Varak raised her axe to the stars. Teleronine stands free. Captain Reese looked at the battlefield, then down at the detonator still in his hand and smiled. But far above, on another ship, in deep space, a darker figure watched the reports from TELRA-9. He had no face, only glowing red eyes. "Activate the others," he whispered. "The human has awakened something old, and now the galaxy must be reminded why it was buried." The war was over. The jungle was quiet again, not from fear, but from peace. Zarkon ships had fled the sky. Their ground armies had been broken inside the mountain. Their leader, General Vorthok, was gone, destroyed by the light of the seed, but Dax had not risen since the final blast. He lay in the healing tent now, surrounded by tribal caretakers. His skin was pale. The golden lines across his arms had dimmed. His breathing was shallow. Alira sat beside him, holding his hand. Captain Reese stood nearby, leaning on a crutch. His face was calm, but his eyes were full of worry. "He used to much," Reese said softly. "Took in all the seed's energy to destroy Vorthok." Alira shook her head. "He saved the planet. He shouldn't die for that. He became something more than human in there," Reese replied. "And when you burn that bright, sometimes you burn out." Suddenly, the tent lit with a soft glow. The seed's memory orb, still in Alira's pouch, rose into the air, glowing on its own. The tribal healers gasped. A voice spoke from it, not Dax's, not the seed's, but a fusion of both. Still here, inside Dax's mind, he stood in a vast space of white and stars. The seed appeared before him, no longer a child, but a form shaped like fire and light. "You carry my flame now," the seed said. "Am I dead?" Dax asked. "Not yet, but you are changed." Dax looked at his glowing hands. "What am I now?" The seed smiled. "A bridge between what was and what will be." Then the seed faded into stardust, and Dax's eyes opened in the real world. Gasped Dax. He blinked slowly, his voice hoarse. "Did we win?" She laughed through tears. "We did." The whole camp gathered outside, cheering as the news spread. The human flame had survived. Over the next few days, Teleronine began to rebuild. The forest grew green again. Broken tribal clans now trained side by side. Zarkon tech was taken apart, studied, and turned into tools to protect the planet, not destroy it. Captain Reese chose to stay behind. "Earth doesn't need me," he said. "But this place, maybe it does." Alira was offered leadership of all the tribes, but she declined. Instead, she helped form a council of unity, made of warriors, thinkers, and elders from every corner of the planet. And Dax. He walked through the jungle daily, learning its secrets. He was no longer just human, no longer just a soldier. He was something new, a symbol, a spark. But even in peace, the stars whispered. One night, Alira found Dax standing at a cliff, looking up at the sky. "Trouble?" she asked. He nodded. "I feel it. More Zarkons." "No," he said. "Something worse. Someone was watching." "The seed told me." "Was just a tool," A servant. Alira's face turned cold. Then what do we do? Dax turned to her and smiled. We prepare, we train, we grow strong together, because next time, the whole galaxy may come. She stepped beside him. And next time, she said, they won't face just a human, they'll face the planet that stood up. As the stars above shimmered like fire, the flame that was once lost, now burned across TELARA-9. And its light would never go out again.